Alright, welcome back. In today's video, we're going to look at types and forms of energy. By the end of the video, these are the two things that you should be able to do. If I give you an example of how energy is being used in everyday life, you should be able to tell me what form of energy is being used in that example. So if I would give you the example of an electrical oven or a microwave, you should be able to tell me that it's utilizing electrical energy. And then you should also be able to tell me the type of energy, kinetic or potential, that is in that example. So in the microwave, we learned that it was electrical energy, and you should be able to tell me that electrical energy is an example of kinetic energy. So firstly, what is energy? Any energy is the ability to do work. So the ability to apply a force over some period of time on an object. And that energy allows us to change or move matter. It allows us, for example, to move a crate from one side of the room to the other. Or it allows us, to like melt ice into water, to change or to move matter. In our everyday lives, we've gotten really good at utilizing energy to make life more efficient, more comfortable. So we've been able to utilize the chemical energy in gasoline to make our cars go, and the electrical energy to power all sorts of devices in our home. And all of those things make modern life possible. Like we just talked about, energy can come in many different forms, and we're going to talk a little bit about those forms second. But first, I wanted to make sure that we could differentiate between the two main groups of energy. So energy can be divided into two main groups, kinetic and potential. Kinetic energy is energy that an object has because it is moving. So all moving objects have kinetic energy, and the faster those objects are moving, the more kinetic energy they have. So the motion of waves, of molecules, of objects or substances are all examples of kinetic energy. So when we talk more about the forms of energy, radiant, thermal, mechanical, sound energy, all of those we'll be talking about as examples of kinetic energy. And on the other hand, we have potential energy, which is stored. Energy an object has because of its state or position. Think of it as the potential to have active energy. So, for example, chemical or electrical or gravitational or nuclear are all examples of potential energy. So we're going to look at some of the types of energy that are kinetic, that have to do with things moving. So thermal is the first that we're going to talk about. So thermal is also called heat energy. It's kinetic energy because for something to be hot, to have heat, molecules in that substance are moving more quickly. So something that's hot, the molecules inside the object are moving around more quickly than in objects that are cool. This movement of molecules is what produces the heat and the thermal energy. So as an example, if you think about geothermal energy, heat from energy from the heat inside of the earth, there are some houses that use geothermal energy to as a main heating source. To be able to save on energy costs using natural gas and electricity and things like that. So here are some examples, like fire obviously gives off thermal energy, or a radiator, right? Um, Anything that supplies heat things up, will also to some extent, provide thermal energy. The second one that's kind of related to the first is called radiant energy. And radiant energy is energy stored in the transmission of waves. It can also be called electromagnetic energy because that the radiant energy travels in electromagnetic waves, like light waves or X-rays or gamma rays or radio waves. Solar energy is a special type of radiant energy that combines heat or thermal energy and light from the sun that warms the earth. So here are some different examples of radiant energy. A radio tower, cell phone, microwave, all have to do with transmitting energy mainly through electromagnetic waves. Thirdly, there's sound energy, and sound energy results from the vibration in an object that's making the sound, and that vibration causes the compression expansion of air, which travels to your eardrum, which picks it up and interprets it as sound. So because there's a vibration, a movement of the air, it is another example of kinetic energy. So some examples of sound energy might be a telephone ringing, or a stereo system playing, or a musical instrument. Anything that produces sound is also utilizing sound energy. And then lastly, for kinetic energies, there's mechanical energy, which is energy produced by the moving parts or moving objects. So like machines or your body, the faster the motion in mechanical energy, the greater the energy, just like kinetic energy in general. So think back to our car crash lab where a greater speed ended up in a more serious accident because a uh, car crash involving a greater speed also involves more energy that has the potential to do harm. So, as an example, the blades of a fan moving, mechanical energy, or a swimmer moving through the water, or a rocket ship blasting off, all mechanical energy. On the other hand, we have some forms of energy that are all potential energy that are stored. So, chemical energy. The energy is stored in the bonds of atoms and molecules, and then is released when those bonds are broken and reformed in chemical reactions. And in chemical energy, it's converted into other forms of energy during those chemical reactions. So, for example, if you mix two substances together and they heat up, that some of that energy is being converted to thermal energy. Or if the reaction fizzes, some sound energy is being made. Or maybe it even starts on fire and you can have some light energy. So the burning of a match is chemical energy. The fire itself might be an example of thermal, but the matchstick, which is burning, contains the energy in chemical bonds. Coal, battery. The inside of a battery contains specific solids and liquids which store energy and is converted to electrical energy. And then even a tree you can think of, or even your own body contains chemical energy stored in the atoms and in the substances and compounds inside your body. Then there's electrical energy, energy created by the movement of charged electrons. It often travels through wires or circuits, and it's usually used best when it's converted to other forms of energy. But electrical energy itself can be represented by like this outlet or a lightning bolt or these power lines. And then lastly, we have nuclear energy, energy that's stored in the nucleus, the protons and neutrons in an atom. And many times we release this energy by the process of nuclear fission, splitting one large nucleus into two smaller ones, or nuclear fusion, when we combine two smaller nuclei into one larger one. And the main really example of nuclear energy is kind of like this picture, nuclear power plants, which turn nuclear energy into electrical energy, which we use to power our homes and things like that. So that should be the end of our presentation. We went through 7 forms and the 2 types, kinetic and potential, of energy, and we should be able to use those to classify a situation involving energy. So for example, if I gave you a picture like this, or a picture like this, or like this, you should be able to tell me what each of these exemplifies as far as a form of energy, and whether that form is an example of a kinetic energy or potential energy.